Hello, Lisa Broyles here with Way to Health MD, and this is part of my series based on Dr. Georgia Ead's book, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. So I wanted to talk to you in this video about the ketogenic diet, brief review of why ketones are so important. If you'll remember, I was discussing how the brain is a hybrid engine, that it needs sips of glucose and then some ketones, which are fat, broken down into fatty acids, how ketones are critical to help your brain think. Ketones are like putting a nice log on a fire that has already gotten going, okay? So your sugar in your daily diet is like newspaper to a fire. Your brain can use it to little sips to kind of jumpstart through the day, but too much sugar constantly flooding the brain decreases the amount of insulin available in the brain, because the insulin receptors that are on what's called the blood-brain barrier actually become resistant when there's too much sugar, too much insulin, and so it decreases the amount of insulin coming into the brain. This is a huge problem because if there's not enough insulin, your brain cannot use glucose appropriately for energy. So you end up in this constant state of brain fog. The brain is literally starving in a desert of not enough insulin in the brain because of insulin resistance. A keto diet is important for the brain because the brain needs ketones to properly make energy, to make mitochondria, to recycle its trash, to create something called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is when the brain actually creates new neurons and wires them together in new patterns. It's absolutely brilliant. All of our brains do it to some extent. Does it better when the brain has lots of ketones for energy and a little bit of glucose. So Dr. Georgia Ead invented what she calls the quiet diet, which is a slight difference from the traditional keto diet. And I'm going to go into the quiet diet with my next video, but I wanted to explain that the ketogenic diet has actually been with us for a long time. Back in 1921, the first study was done where children with epilepsy were placed on a ketogenic diet, and they found that 50% of those children had a 50% reduction in their seizure activity, and 10% had complete resolution of their seizures on a ketogenic diet. So your brain primarily needs fat for energy. This is a diet that's about 75% fat and about 20% protein, and you really only need about 5% of your diet to come from carbs. And the problem is the worst foods for your brain are foods like sugar. And you may say, well, doc, I don't eat candy. I don't even drink soda. But let me ask you, do you eat a lot of fruit? Do you drink a lot of juice? And I am guilty of this, guilty as charged. The more I read, the more I realize how I've been addicted to sugar and carbs all my life. It's part of our typical sad American diet. So anything that's refined flour, refined foods, breakfast cereal, instant oatmeal, these all are going straight to sugar, terrible for your brain. Your brain needs protein and fat. This looks like eggs for breakfast, animal protein. So I know there's been some good studies into vegan diets and how beneficial they are. However, for people with seizures, for psychiatric disorders such as bipolar and schizophrenia, anxiety and depression, you really need to consider eating animal protein, because animal protein, most of it contains all 9 of the essential amino acids that the brain needs for protein. And guess what it does with protein? It makes your neurotransmitters, your dopamine, your serotonin, your GABA. These are what help us feel balanced and happy, and they are made with protein. And then the brain recycles dead cells, washes itself, and creates new cells with the ketones coming from fat. So stay tuned. Next video will be all about the quiet diet.